Welcome to Melt. I'm Suresh Venkat. Last month, global experiential agency George P. Johnson, or GPJ for short, celebrated 20 years in India. Known for their work on both B2B and B2C brands such as IBM, Salesforce, Nissan, and many others. The agency champions the use of activations and experiences to engage audiences. To know more, we spoke to Chris Mayer, the global CEO of George P. Johnson. What are some of the global trends in experiential marketing and how relevant are they to the Indian market? Let's find out as we get ready to melt with Chris Mayer. Chris, you're here to celebrate 20 years of GPJ in India. How's the journey been so far?
Yeah, it's been an amazing journey here for 20 years in India, and the memorable moments has really been about the team, and it's a testament to the culture of the agency that our leadership team has pretty much been here since the beginning. And as you know, in any agency environment, it's about the people. And we couldn't be prouder of the core team that's here and the entire team that we have built here in India. And some other highlights for me, we've used India not only to support the market for a lot of our global clients as well as regional clients, but as a hub to support the Middle East and Africa and other parts of the world, using the great talent here in India. So it's been a big win for us and for our clients. Also couldn't be prouder as our industry has evolved, not only globally, but here in India, to see our team really bring the A game relevant to ideas that we bring to our clients and the brands, and the ability to execute those in really innovative ways. And to do it not only from a production perspective, but truly bringing business value and marketing value to our clients, meaning that our work transcends the delivery of events. It's about strategic campaign management, portfolio management, digital experiences, and all of the different touch points that are associated with experiential.
Chris, many commentators use the phrase India's decade to describe the next 10 years. I have two questions for you. Do you agree with that characterization? And two, what does it mean for a business like yours?
I think, no one has a crystal ball, but I think there is a tremendous opportunity for India. With a lot of geopolitical things going on around the world, I think the opportunity for economic growth in India is tremendous. We'll see how that plays out, but I do know that a lot of our brand clients, particularly our global clients, are very focused on the opportunities here in India. And what that means for us in the experiential is I think we'll continue to see not only rebound coming out of the pandemic, but significant economic growth. As a matter of fact, I talked to one of our senior global clients today, and in many regions of the world, they're cutting their next fiscal year budgets, but their India budget was up almost 70% relevant to experiential. So all indications are that there's a significant opportunity growing for the next decade here in India from an overall economic perspective, but particularly in experiential. And that I think will transcend corporate events or organizational events, also roll into sports and entertainment and other experiential activities.
And speaking of the pandemic, it's been almost 3 years now since the pandemic first hit us like a bolt from the blue.
Yeah.
And one industry that was completely upended was obviously the experiential marketing industry. How would you define the experiential marketing industry today after 3 years post for the first lockdown?
Yeah, so experiential post-pandemic, it's been a journey, right? I mean, both the impact during the pandemic, and obviously our industry was completely shut down for the most part. Obviously, we had digital experiences, but the recovery has been tremendous for us around the world and in this market, India as well. As a matter of fact, I think it's been more difficult to scale back up to experiential than it was to scale down, quite frankly. But a couple other things coming out of that. I think the gap in having experiences actually helped us reposition the value of experiences to organizations, to brands, because it's always hard to exactly measure the return on investment from events. But what we learned during the pandemic, when they go away, it's a big gap in bringing people together that drive business, that drive interactions with brands. And so we see actually the resurgence when you compare to other marketing activities, especially as you get into fiscal year planning where we may have a recession in front of us if we're not already in one. we're actually seeing budgets hold or increase in experiential. And I actually attribute some of that to the fact that we had a gap. Beyond that, in recovering from the pandemic, we've come out of it with much higher costs for experiential. And that's both in labor cost. It's impacted by inflation as well as supply chain challenges. So even though we may see budgets flat in our space, it actually means we have we have less budget because the costs are increasing. The good news about our industry, I think, in our teams, we're seeing a lot of innovation. How do we actually create unique experiences with the same budgets, even though our costs are higher? So I think net, I think experiential is in a great place. I think it's perceived as higher value coming out of the pandemic versus other marketing tactics. And I do recognize that we have higher costs and supply chain issues. I suspect the supply chain issues will be less as we go into 23 and beyond. I think that the industry and the world is getting a grasp on them.
And the idea of the hybrid event that pretty much took shape and cemented itself during the pandemic. Do you think hybrid will continue, or will it be seen as a relic of the pandemic years?
Yeah, no, I absolutely think hybrid experiences will continue. I think it really comes down to each brand or organization. What's their strategy? Is distribution of content that comes out of events important to them? I would say the majority of our clients, it's very important. And as a matter of fact, we've seen a significant maturity in using events as studios, if you will, to create not only content that is broadcast from the event in a kind of a cinematic fashion, but also being able to capture content and leverage that for other marketing tactics, digital marketing tactics, et cetera, throughout the year. And we believe that we're going to continue to see events use the studios both for kind of the real-time broadcast, as well as, again, using them to create all sorts of content that can be used throughout the year.
Let's talk about client relationships.
Yeah.
You often hear of legendary relationships between clients and advertising agencies, for instance.
Yeah.
But we don't hear enough about clients and experiential marketing agencies. Why do you suppose this is? Is it because they see this as a transactional activity, but that as a strategic activity?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I think long-term relationships in the experiential industry, if you hear that's not the case, you're probably not hearing about our clients.
We don't hear much about it in the media, is what I meant, or in general conversation.
Yeah. It's interesting because the majority of our clients are relationships that are 10 years plus. We have one account that we've had for over 75 years. So I think in the case of experiential, there are two categories, I think, of buy. One, that you're buying at a transactional level that's really about production partners to produce events and experiences, right? The other one is a true partner that is going to help build and deliver an experiential portfolio globally. And that's generally where we play, where that's a very strategic role that is treated programmatically. It's treated strategically. It involves not only the production, but it involves the strategy, the creative, the content, and then obviously the production, the distribution, and broadcast of all of that content. So I think that there is continued opportunity for our industry to mature relevant to the role events and experiential plays in the marketing mix. And the clients, majority of our clients, from a key stakeholder executive perspective, they understand the power of experiences and how to use that not only as a marketing tactic, but use it to help them build their business. And
a lot of marketers watch our shows. So what do marketers need to know about long-standing relationships with experiential agencies?
Yeah, I think, great clients make great agencies. And when I look at where we truly have the strongest relationships and we deliver the greatest results, it really is about understanding roles and responsibilities, having a clear vision and strategy that aligns to the corporate needs, and again, business needs as well as marketing needs, and ensuring that your agency partners provide the right solutions and the right geographical coverage to do that. And I think for brands, my advice is don't look at your event portfolio or experience portfolio as a series of projects. Look at it as a program.
As a strategic whole.
Right. I mean, and just like you would treat going into an advertising campaign, right, with the right strategy and the right creative and the right partners, the same thing needs to apply to experiential.
And are Indian clients any different from your non-Indian clients, or are clients everywhere?
I think I don't see any big difference. Obviously, there's cultural differences around the world, India and other places. But as far as experiential, I think it's similar around the world. And as a matter of fact, coming out of the pandemic, I think because there were so many digital global programs, we are seeing more global collaboration now as we return to physical events around the world. And that applies to the brands we work with as well as how we work as a global agency.
We also hear of clients in-housing certain functions, digital, for instance, or online marketing, and some portions of the experiential marketing piece are being in-housed, or they shop around for more affordable solutions. Does this trend sort of worry you at GPJ?
Yeah, no, I think the clients having in-house services is part of the norm for us, and it's as a matter of fact, if you use creative as an example, right? We have to have great creative partners inside the brand, and then allow us to take and translate that into how it works in the experiential portfolio. So the best relationships and the best results is when it is a true blend of in-house agency services, if you will, as well as external agencies. And I don't see a trend away from that. Relevant to, again, sometimes there are specific needs that are very tactical as far as delivery for events or experiences, and we'll probably continue to see those bought by the drink, if you will. But in having kind of strategic relationships that drive business results, marketing results, I think that will continue to be a really strong collaboration between in-house departments, services, and agencies.
Chris, GPJ is also part of Project Worldwide, a network of independent agencies. Now, at one level, you compete with these agencies. At another level, you collaborate with these agencies. How do you pull off this cooperative sort of work environment?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. Project Worldwide was formed out of GPJ, and so it's kind of founded on the principles of experiential. And another big principle for us was to be the unholding company, if you will, to really, truly collaborate and not compete. As a matter of fact, across our network, we never compete. And I would say 70%, 75% of the projects that GPJ does involve at least one sister agency from the project network. And it works really well for us. And during the pandemic, when we saw experiential kind of take a big hit, the fact that we were diversified in our marketing mix and our services was very helpful. Also for our clients, having additional tools in the toolkit that we may bring to the party is really effective, and it allows us to quickly provide the services that are needed for our clients.
You help a lot of clients help their customers experience the client's products or services. How does the client get to experience GPJ's products or services? Do you have an in-house marketing division that sort of markets you?
We do, yeah. I mean, we have obviously we're in the experiential marketing business, so when we're promoting our own brand, we try to use experiences. But we also have a pretty mature marketing team that we focus a lot on social as well as awards. This year we've won more awards around the world, here in India as well, than we have historically. And so that recognition from the outside is important to us, is important to our clients, it's important to our teams. I think the other way that our clients get to experience our agency is we have a lot of referrals from brands who participate in other brand events, right? If we manage a large event for IBM or Salesforce, there's clearly other brands who participate as sponsors or exhibitors, and they get to actually experience the type of events that we put on. And that often leads to them coming to discuss with us how we can help them with their events.
Quite often, experiential marketing activities tend to be very tactical and localized for many businesses, not for all of them. But you operate both at a local tactical level and at a global strategic level.
Correct.
How do you sort of upsell a client who's planning something local and tactical to what strengths GPJ can bring them from a worldwide lens, for instance?
Yeah, so as far as evolving a customer relationship from individual projects or regional projects to global, there's really no standard way to do that. It really depends on the needs of the brand. It's very often that we will start working with a brand with one particular geo or one particular project, and through that, be able to educate clients onto why you need to have a more strategic, programmatic relationship, and that's often global. On the flip side of that, we've often grown up with a lot of brands where they start as small, fast-growing companies or unicorns, whatever you want to call them. And so often we go from working in a smaller size company and grow with them. And if you look at brands like Salesforce and Kyndryl and Workday and Tesla and others, again, we started with them when they were very small companies and kind of rode the wave with them and brought our experiences to bear that we've had with more mature global companies.
You've used the word programmatic quite a few times in this interview. Can you help break it down? What does a programmatic relationship mean for marketers?
Yeah, so programmatic relationship as it relates to experiential means we truly look at the program. We look at the integrated program of events, where they fit into the marketing mix, helping clients understand what that portfolio should look like. So it's the highest value. What events should they be attending? What proprietary events should they have? And then putting programs in place that allow us to drive consistency in brand, allow us to drive lowest cost, and the most efficient operating model around the globe. And also where it's appropriate, ensuring there's compliance and things like GDPR and other data things like that. And that's a different approach than kind of planning on a one-off basis. And I think the experiential industry has matured greatly over the last decade, where we're seeing more and more clients really approach their experiential spend from a programmatic perspective.
No conversation about experiential marketing is complete without some mention of the metaverse. And I've read in a previous interview that you're not fully enamored by a completely virtual metaverse where we sort of immerse ourselves into a virtual world and forget about the real temporal world.
Yeah.
What is your view of the metaverse?
Yeah, I'm usually a very early adopter on technology, and I think, maybe I'm getting a little older now, so not as quick to adapt. But I think relevant to the metaverse, I think it will be a bit like augmented reality. I think as it relates to experiential, I think we're going to find the ability to participate in content that comes from events to be available in the metaverse, right? Where you may navigate into a virtual environment or destination, and we're streaming content into the metaverse that may be coming from a physical event. So from my view and the piloting that we're doing with clients, it's really about that, right? How do you bring metaverse and physical events together? And I think that's going to be what we're going to see for the next several years.
Can you paint a picture for us 10 years from now? A sort of event in the metaverse, let's say the launch of a car.
Yeah.
What is it going to feel like and look like in real terms?
Yeah, I think if you
wearing bulky headsets, or would they have been minimized into contact lens size?
Yeah, devices? I think the technology, like anything in metaverse, will evolve, and maybe the headsets will become either implanted or in your glasses or something a little more simple. But I think if you think about something like a product launch, I think in the metaverse, eventually you will have some physical destination where maybe there's a small group. It's a very unique or high value audience, but we're then also allowing people to participate in the metaverse to attend that product launch, using that as an example. And I think, just like we're seeing today in hybrid experiences where you have expertise in talent that understands how to create digital experiences and how to create physical experiences, I think we'll see that continue to evolve in the metaverse, relevant to the talent needs to support and develop content and experiences in the metaverse.
Let's change tracks a little bit. Conferences and festivals, music festivals in particular, are back in a big way, and we're seeing some big ticket festivals launching in India as well.
Yep.
What trends are you seeing post-pandemic in conferences and festivals?
Yeah, it's interesting. So trends that we're seeing that apply to festivals and conferences and events, I think number one is sustainability is front and center for everyone. It's at the top of mind for all of our clients. So ensuring that we are designing and delivering in a sustainable way is very important. I think number two, we're seeing either things get bigger or get smaller, right? And I think if you think about a portfolio that may have small, kind of custom, high value touch points to large scale events, we're seeing trend of both of those growing. In the middle is where we're seeing, them go away, right? When you're looking again at portfolios, you're seeing kind of the mid-tier struggling. From a creative perspective, we're seeing, I call it kind of a cohesive creative, where in the past, creative really was applied maybe to individual parts of events and experiences, whether you're designing a booth or a stage set or things like that. Now, every touch point is integrated into the design, and that involves content, that involves architecture. So just a more holistic approach to the creative thinking. And then I think the last big trend is around diversity. I think the diversity of audiences, the diversity of teams to support events and clients is important. And I think that our industry is helping drive greater diversity in everything that we touch.
Let me ask you a question about your talent policy. Have you seen any changes in the kind of talent you hire? I would like you to answer this question first from a global perspective and then an Indian perspective.
Yeah, so from a talent perspective, are we seeing changes in the type of people we hire? Absolutely. And I think if you, when you look at the services that an agency like ours provides, it's everything from strategists, which may come out of consulting, right, to creatives who come out of all different backgrounds. And if you think about digital, we're hiring people that come out of television, right, or movie production. Obviously, there's production side of things. And then when you get into digital, hiring people that have kind of grown up more in IT or in digital experiences. So the talent we're hiring really aligns to the services that we're offering, and that is much more diverse than it was 5-10 years ago, where really we were focused on kind of producers, production personnel, still important, but being complemented by very different skill sets. And that's at all levels of the hiring chain, whether we're developing young talent or bringing in senior level folks that come from places like television or consulting.
And does everybody need to have sort of a tech and data background these days in the experiential business? Is that like a mandatory for all your hires?
Yeah, I think it's mandatory to have that expertise. It's also mandatory for teams to generally understand how technology applies, how data is relevant to both the measurement side of things as well as the hyper-personalization of experiences. So, data and understanding digital is a requirement of our industry. And then it's a requirement to have some deep level of expertise in that category as well. And I think when you look at India versus rest of world, I don't see it that different. I think that, there's some great talent here in India relevant to data and creative. And we look at both how do we build a team to support the India market, but also how do we build hubs of talent that's here in India that can support rest of the world.
Chris Meyer of GPJ, thank you very much for talking to us.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
That's a wrap on this episode. You can follow Melt on social media. The handle is Ready to Melt, or simply log on to readytomelt.com. If you'd like to follow me, I'm @Suvenk on Twitter. Till next week, goodbye and thanks for watching.